Hey everyone, this is Kandace and Sher with Processing Trauma Out Loud. Sher and I have been in a pretty long series of what we're naming as story work themes. We've been looking at different aspects of patterns that we can look for as we're sharing our stories. And we're not just processing them and looking at them, like we are also holding that there's ways to heal and move out of patterns and getting ourselves into a place that, Cher, we're just showing up more grounded, more content, more hopeful, more empowered, that we can heal these wounds that we received from childhood. Today, we are going to look at the theme of attachment wounds. And before I name all those attachment wounds that we have previously talked about in other episodes, I'm just curious, how are you feeling about kind of going back into looking at attachment wounds again?
Loving it. I think it's been, and we've been enjoying this talking off and on over the last few months, really, about how we are noticing changes in the ways that we are moving more toward earn secure attachment in our relationships, that we're not going into our old styles as much as we used to. And so we both are big believers that this topic is so important and affects our relationships in such significant ways and can be healed. And also that the healing process is just so lovely, I will say. Like to begin to experience relationships where we feel more secure, more loved, more lovable, this more seen, right? Better attuned to, like this is the process of healing, and this process is beautiful. So I'm looking forward to our episode today.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of that we become more aware of that we can stay to be loved, right? We
Yeah.
we don't have to go into our attachment wound, but then we begin to notice that, oh, we see other people maybe going into, and we show up more fully able to know what they need and how to love them better in those spaces.
Yeah.
So it's always, in my opinion, it's about loving ourselves and loving others. Those two will always go hand in hand. The problem is that we often as adults think that it's all about just loving others. And if we don't truly love ourselves, we're actually not loving people authentically from our true self.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is an important topic. And I'll just go through the attachment styles pretty briefly. People can also look this up, and then we'll get into how this has helped us specifically. But there, you already mentioned that there is earned secure attachment. This is what we are all growing in. This is what we desire. And this is what some experts will say about half of the population do have pretty good access to. Not perfectly. Even if you have an earned secure attachment and you are secure in your attachment, it doesn't mean you never struggle. It usually just means you are able to quickly get yourself grounded into a secure attachment with yourself, with others, and even with God. And so the insecure attachment styles are, number one, an anxious or preoccupied attachment style. This comes from a child never really being sure when their needs are going to be met. They're very preoccupied trying to make sure in some way they get their needs met, because this child has had their needs met. They know what that's like, but it's so inconsistent. It causes this anxiety of, will today be the day that I get the attention I need? Or am I going to have to do something to get my needs met today? The other insecure attachment style. Number two would be called avoidant attachment style. And these children grew up learning pretty quickly that anytime that they have needs or they're showing emotion, it gets shut down or they're too much. Something in them decides, oh, showing up and expressing my needs or my feelings actually will hurt me in some way. And so, for survival, to feel safe within their body, they become avoidant. This is not what they want to do. This is what they feel like they need to do to actually self-regulate to some degree. And then we have the last insecure attachment style, which you and I've talked about this. We both share this attachment style, which would be called fearful, avoidant, chaotic, or disorganized. We've named that you kind of lean more towards avoidant. I probably lean more towards anxious, but we ebb and flow out of those, actually, depending on what's going on with the other person. But as we're healing, we're both moving away from that. And so, in that attachment wound, a child, there's a sense of the person that I need to meet these needs that I have is also the person that is unpredictable. And there's usually a sense that that parent or caregiver is not trustworthy in maybe some type of abuse or abandonment, or in my case, being entrusted with somebody else that abused me. Like, why would someone take me here if they knew I was going to be harmed? So there's this fearful avoidant going back and forth from being avoidant and being anxious. Okay, deep breath. I know that's a lot. And I want to say Cher and I aren't experts per se, but I would say we're getting pretty close, but we want to send you to other experts. So go look up Stephanie Riggs on attachment. She is an attachment expert that you can learn more from.
Yeah, so good. And thanks for going over that, Kandace, reviewing and reminding us. And I think an important way or a really, yeah, I'll say, why are we talking about this? Okay. It shows up in our relationships pretty much every single day. This is a huge factor in why, as adults, we struggle in our relationships or why we feel like we're always longing for something that we can't quite get, or we feel a sense of, oh, I'm not safe, leave me alone, or that we can be in that push pull of anxious or avoidant. And so I think it can be really helpful to look at what is your typical MO? Like, how do you show up in relationships and go, kind of reflect back through what were you like as a teenager? What were you like as a young adult? What are you like with your significant person? What are you like with your children, right? Like, do we feel secure in who we are? Do we feel comfortable asking for what we need? And we have some sense of confidence that the people around us are going to say, oh, yeah, hey, I can help with that. Or do we have a sense of feeling, I'm not sure if I can trust this person? And so we're trying to move toward and somehow through direct or indirect types of ways, we try to get a way for us to be seen and attuned to and our needs met. Or we're saying, whoa, I can't really trust you. I'm going to go take care of myself. And so, how are you showing up in these styles of attachment that Candace just went over? And this can really help us understand why we're showing up the way we are in our relationships today. But if we can identify, like, whoa, I really tend to be avoidant or whatever, then I can go back and I can look like, how did I relate to my parents? Was I avoidant even as a young child? Like when I had needs, did I have freedom to say, Mom, look at me, care for me, take care of me, come and find me, Or did I just kind of wander off and find a place where I could self soothe and not be a problem?
Yeah.
That's one example, and we could give many, many examples. But if we look at how are we showing up in our adult relationships, that can really be a big clue, give us lots of clues as to what we were experiencing as a child, and then begin to investigate those relationships a little bit more as to what may have been going on that maybe we just missed or we excused, but we need to really take another look at that.
Mhm. What's coming to me is this idea we've talked about called our growth edge. I'm thinking of the growth edge when we're looking at attachment, becoming securely attached. So, a lot of this is about being able to regulate, being able to find that grounded, calm state within our own bodies so that we can get to the truest story about who we are and what we have available to us. So when I'm working with a client, I like to get a feel for where are they at on this attachment wound and style. I don't want to call it a grid, but just kind of getting a feel for how are they showing up in their relationships. And I do that not by me telling them. I ask them questions. I listen to their stories, and this pattern emerges. So what we know is we were created for community, for relationship. Now, we were also created to be able to have solitude, to feel a sense of security and safety and groundedness, even when we are alone. So, for the person who leans more toward avoidant, we know that their growth edge is going to look like um, being able to breathe through that anxiety of wanting to pull away and taking micro movements towards staying just a little bit longer, maybe asking for a little bit more, being able to help them find their voice on what they need. And then we also know for the anxious attachment style, where I'm going to go with someone that's leaning towards that is being able to help them find that growth piece of finding a sense of groundedness within their own body that they can begin to move towards kind of peace and solitude, right? So if we always think that we have to be connected to this person in this way, kind of like a baby would be to their mama's breast, we have to help them wean off of that and know they now have what they need within themselves.
This dynamic of how we move toward and away from people in our, even as we're growing in our awareness of what we need, is really, you use the word this morning, it's like we're moving in micro, what's the
Micro
word?
movement.
Micro
Micro movement.
movement, millimeters, 2 millimeters, right? Of teeny tiny steps where we move forward, and then maybe we go back and evaluate. Maybe we take inventory of what's going on inside of me, and whoa, does my little girl need me to see her? And maybe to say, yep, and I do this all the time. Yep, baby girl, like I know this is hard right now. We know what it feels like to be hurt in this situation. And I think we're at a place where we can take a risk. Like, are you with me? Can you be with me? Like I have these dialogues all the time. And it's so powerful in helping me soothe that anxiety that I feel so that then I can be more in my prefrontal cortex and really make a decision like, can I move toward this or can I move away? Do I need to test the waters. Do I need to use my voice and ask for what I need? But I can do it from a completely different way, in a way that is not anxiety driven, but from a place where I am feel much more of a sense of rest and where I can take some risk. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep thinking about our relationship and how when we met, we didn't understand exactly all the dynamics. We may have had a little bit of language, but you and I have both named that we are fearful avoidant. And it's been interesting to me to see how we have gained that insecure attachment through doing the work of whatever feelings of insecurity that we may be in the moment. And that may mean, I'm just going to give an example. You coming to me, and I think I remember this at one time, and you just used your good, brave voice, and in some way you said, I'm needing more. And then me going, okay, is she needing too much? What is she needing? And why am all of a sudden I feel like I'm having a hot flash? And but I was able to breathe and slow down and like, oh no, she's inviting me into an earned secure attachment where I'm going to be faced with what is my growth edge here?
Mm.
Do I have the capacity to give more in this space that you're asking for? I'm telling you, this for both of us, because we've both done it in different ways, has been one of my primary healing relationships in my attachment wound.
Yeah. Love that so much. Yeah.
You're smiling really big. I want to hear more.
Well, yes. I mean, and that is, I love this because we truly, we talk about processing trauma out loud is who? Two women doing the work. And I feel like we show up that way. We're pretty honest about, we often come on and we have been working through stuff that we are going through. And we are in the ongoing process of doing the work of healing because, frankly, we have had a lot of stuff that has needed healing. But I love how we have been so instrumental in one another's healing. Like we didn't have it, we didn't have everything put together and come to start this work, showing up as people who like, yeah, we've got it all together and we're going to come and, teach y'all how to do it. But the way that we have been able to grow, like you're talking about the growth edge, we tested the waters with each other a lot, but we have found that we can trust each other. I have found that you can hold my stuff, and you have found that I can hold your stuff. And so that more and more, we can show up with just being really real, even often right in the midst of dysregulation, and help each other come to these places where we are grounded. And this has helped us not just with each other, but we now know earn secure attachment. And this not only affects our relationship, it affects my relationship with every single person in my life.
Mhm. Wow, I'm getting emotional. I just had this image of the times I've come to you, and I have just felt too much.
Mm.
And so far, you have not pulled back or looked away.
Yeah.
And wow, Cher, just thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, and for me, it's like it's such an honor and privilege to hold space with you. And I want to just say, like, that is that feeling that we are too much, like that is such a message that can cause us to shut down or to turn away or to pull back because we are, but we are afraid. We're just afraid because that's what anxious attachment is. But that you had the courage to keep coming and keep coming and testing the waters and finding out, can I hold it? And can I hold where, however you show up? And, and really likewise, there have been a lot of times that I've come to you and have just been like, I'm dysregulated right now. Not that I could always say that, but I mean, I was dysregulated in the moment. And yeah, it has been beautiful. And I think I'm glad we're talking about this here. And I think we do this a lot, but to give our listeners glimpses of two real women whose
Mhm.
lives have been changed by learning about these concepts and then really practicing with each other.
Mhm.
And as we have done this, it has helped us heal, it has helped us grow, it has helped us have much more, well, love. Like we experience love with each other and beyond, like I've never known before in my whole great big long life. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, which leads me to want to invite our listeners to please reach out to CandaceSher@gmail.com, KandaceSher@gmail.com, to get connected to some resources that can provide what you need if you're wondering, can I ever have this? Can I feel this? And I'm going to say that doesn't mean Cher and I are just in bliss 24/7. No, we have little glimpses. But for the most part, it is being able to, like, okay, I'll start the work now. And a year from now, oh, I think I've grown a little. 2 years, oh, I'm seeing a little more movement. Cher and I know this. There is no pressure or demand to be at a certain point at a certain time. It's just like, oh, let's just all, maybe we could just get headed in the right direction.
yeah. And I just want to echo this, Candace. Like I have been thinking more and more about there are so many people that want help and want change and are afraid to move toward it. And I just want to echo the invitation. Find a little bit of courage and reach out. We would love to talk with you and help you get connected with resources that can change your life as our lives have been changed.
Yes. Yes. Amen. Good to be with you today, friend.
You too, Candace. Thank you so much for
We will come
hanging
out
in
there.
there with me.
My pleasure. Love you.
Love you too.